Welcome to the Black Mirror Podcast.
Join host Ho-Ho as he discusses the riveting Netflix original series,
Black Mirror. Now, here he is, Ho Ho Ho.
Broadcasting from the Cottage Studio. Welcome to Black Mirror Podcast, and as always, I'm your host, Ho-Ho. So how y'all's doing? I hope you're doing good. I really do. Today, we are revisiting Season 4, Episode 4, titled Hang the DJ. Oh, yeah, and I gotta admit, man, the first time I watched this, the title had me, it screwed me up. I'm like, what in the world does a DJ, a party, an event where you would have a DJ present, have to do with this dating retreat that these people are on? It made absolutely no sense to me. But this time it's like the very end. Oh, I get it. It took me a while. Now, okay, before we really get into the episode, and by the way, spoiler alert, if you've never watched or listened to Black Mirror Podcast, yeah, we talk about the episode. So it's a spoiler alert, just throwing that in there. But before I get into that, a little bit of housekeeping, okay? I do like 4 different podcasts. I got, my 2 passion projects, the Ho-Ho Show and Religion Ho-Ho's Way. I've got this one, Black Mirror Podcast, not exactly a passion project, but Black Mirror, the show, Netflix original series is amazing, and this allows me to explore the human condition, which, is psychological, technological type of a thing that kind of is leaning into a passion of mine. So, just the human condition in general. I like that kind of stuff. I find it very intriguing. And then, of course, I've got the movie review, which, who doesn't like movies and being entertained, right? Of course, we all do. I never would have dreamed that this podcast, the show, would have gotten the popularity that it's got. And it has grown, holy cow, to a point that I never would have fathomed it, really, really not, And due to its popularity, I'm very much wanting to take this to another level, okay? I got something in the works that I'm wanting to try, that I'm going to try. I don't know how successful I'm going to be on this endeavor. I should know something within the next 2 months on whether or not I'll be able to pull it off. If I can, then we're going to be adding a little something after I finish up with season 6. After season 6, I'm wanting to add a little bit of something to it, grow it a little bit, add some depth to it, some depth, more perspective into it, if you will. I don't want to spill the beans on what I got going on, what I'm thinking, okay? But let's just say it's going to be pretty freaking awesome. I'm excited about it. I really am. Okay. I'll know something within the next couple months. I'll know a little something. And after I know something, I will let y'all know. But just thank you. I mean, really, none of this would even be possible if it wasn't for you. So thank you. I'm humbled. I'm honored. Wow. Okay. I ain't telling you numbers. Doesn't matter. Just wow and thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Y'all are awesome. I appreciate it. I really do. So, that being said, let's go ahead and dive into this episode. Because this puppy, all right, I hate to admit this. I really do. I really do. I hate to admit this. But, I knew that, it's Black Mirror, okay? You know they're going to throw some type of curveball at you. You know they're going to throw a little something, something at you. You know that things aren't necessarily what they seem. You know this. But whenever I was watching this episode the first time, I was focusing the wrong direction. I mean, it took me entirely too long to figure out what the heck was going on. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't figure it out. I mean, I really didn't. It was the very end whenever it was like, what's going on? And then finally they just, why didn't I pick up on that? You know, why didn't I? And rewatching it, you know, I paid more attention to the details and the conversation and the things that were going on. And it's like, it was so glaringly obvious. I mean, kicking yourself in the butt on how slow I was, you know, and maybe I was focused. I mean, I was just focused on the wrong thing. I mean, that's kind of what it's what it amounts to. I was focused on the wrong thing. But let's go ahead and get into the episode, because I'll tell you what, this episode, we're going to end with a couple different questions on here. Maybe not quite what you think, okay? But, okay, this episode, though, it really was pretty freaking intriguing. All right, it was neat. I liked it. I really did. It starts off with newcomers to this singles retreat. Okay, that's kind of what they portray it as in the very beginning. It's like a singles retreat. Okay, you got Frank and Amy. All right, and they have this little handheld device called the Coach. I'm going to probably refer to it as Cortana more than once through the episode. And they check on this date. Okay, how long their date is going to be. Their date was set for 12 hours. After the end of the meal, they go to a cabin, and they spend the next, the 12 hours long date. At the conclusion of this 12-hour long date, Frank gets put into gets assigned another date, and so does Amy. The length of Amy's next date was 9 months. And the length of Frank's date was 1 year. And, you kind of go through this thing, and this is where they first started making me go, Because they're both in their, both Frank and Amy, they're in their, I guess you'd say, their mid-20s. And you kind of, in their talking on this first 12-hour date, that, what they're doing, this whole dating thing, is how life is. They don't have jobs. You don't know anything about their life prior to them showing up to this retreat. Frank's first date was with Amy. Amy's first date was with Frank. That's how this whole entire thing started. 12-hour long date. Okay. But it's like they don't work. They don't do anything. And they kind of make it seem like this is how life is. And I mean, there's not a huge amount of people that you see in this, but they definitely make it out to be like this is how life is lived in this, in this society, whether it be, in the country, in the world. They don't let you in on that, but it's it's how life is. But again, you got no job. Your entire life is lived dating somebody, just going out on a date for whatever length of a date they decide it's going to be. That's what you do. So, you've got Frank's first date with Amy, 12 hours long. Amy goes on another date with another guy, and it's 9 months. Okay. She goes on another date, 36 hours, another date, 36 hours, another date, 36 hours, just a continual loop, as it seems, of 36-hour dates. You got Frank, whom after his date with Amy goes on a 1-year-long date. And this date that Frank has, he's counting down the time because he feels like he's in prison. He really wants to get out of this date because this person is just nasty. She's a Karen. Let's just put it that way. She's a Karen. Okay? He is not happy with this date. And Cortana is like, you got to do it. You got to do it like this. This is how it is. There's, just have faith in the process. There's a reason why we do everything that we do. Just go with it. Okay? Just go with it. And with Amy, with all of these dates that she's going on, it's just an endless merry-go-round of different guys that she's with. Okay? Now, with Frank, his experience, even though he felt like he was in prison for a year, he's got a little bit more faith in the system. Now, Amy, considering how her experience went, it was, she's really becoming jaded. No faith in the system whatsoever. She's getting kind of jaded. She's getting tired of the game. She's getting tired of the merry-go-round. She's just getting tired of it, Now, there's some conversations that ends up popping up. And I don't, at this particular point, remember the time frame of some of these. But after Frank's 1-year-long date and after Amy's 9-month and then just 36-hour rotation after 36-hour rotation, they get matched up again. Now, we don't know exactly how many dates Amy goes on. We get the sense that it's many. Frank, this is his third date. Second person that he's been with, it was Amy, and then, Karen for a year, and now back to Amy. Now, they both have had two very different, very different experiences. And their very different experiences has given them very different outlooks on this system. And, the conversations start to arise, okay? One, they start talking about this dating retreat thing, and that's what life is. And I thought that, of course, was a little weird, But one of the things that they're talking about in this is how life was before the system. And I thought that was kind of intriguing. They talk about having to meet people on your own and go through the process and breaking up and learning people and everything else. And I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, okay, this is a little strange. And that's why I say, it leads you to believe that that is just how life is with being on this dating retreat, that everybody does this. This is how they do that. You go through various dates with the whole point of finding your lifelong partner. And that's what the whole point of these various dates is to figure out, your likes, your dislikes, different people, what you want in order to put you into that relationship with your lifelong partner. And then you go to your happily ever after. You leave the retreat and you go to your happily ever after. That's the picture that they're painting. So now they're back together again. Okay. The coach, Cortana, she matches Frank and Amy back up. Now, they agree that they're not going to check their little handheld coaching device on how long their date is going to be. You know, because again, two very different experiences are going on right now. Okay, you've got Amy, who is very jaded. She's tired of the merry-go-round. She's tired of the game. She wants to live in the moment, being happy, because they truly are happy with each other. They missed being together. You know, there really was chemistry between the two. And Amy didn't want to ruin the experience by having a duration and an expiration date, an expiry, as they call it. Now, Frank, being, having a different perspective on this, because different experience, he has a little bit more faith in the system, and things are gnawing on him, But before we get into that, another conversation that they have when Frank and Amy are on their second date, that, they're talking about, the thing itself, talking about their experiences, and with Amy, her experience, she describes this whole thing as, they're just playing games with you. They're just testing you. They're running you through all this just to break you down and make you more jaded, just so you give up. And it's not that they really find their, your forever partner, your lifelong partner, and, you leave to your happily ever after. It's more of they put you through all this to break you down, so you just give up and you settle on whoever it is that they end up putting you with. And with Frank, his outlook is a little bit different. His outlook is, what if the system is what they say it is? What if they take all this information, everything that you are, your thoughts, your dreams, your interactions, your everything, and what if they do take all of that, put you all into, different dates with people to where they actually know everything about you, and the system truly does work? What if? Another alarm bell was going off in my head when I heard that, because this was something that I just didn't pick up on the first time around. I just didn't. I was like, watching it the second time, I was like, all right, this is making sense. I'm picking up what you're throwing down here. I'm seeing what they're doing here, Now, at the time that their second date got started, okay, they both agreed not to look at their expiry, not to look and see how long their date was scheduled to be. Because Amy truly just wanted to live in the moment and just wanted to be happy without thinking about the revolving door of endless dates. And that was based off of her experience so far. Frank, on the other hand, having a totally different experience, he was like, I kind of want to know. Because I really don't want to have to go to somebody else whenever I am truly happy right here. So finally, Frank breaks down. Frank has a moment of weakness. He just has to know. And he checks his device. He checks Coach. 5 years he's going to be on this date with Amy. And he breathes a sigh of relief. He's happy. He's with the person that he wants to be with. She's with the person that she wants to be with. They're both happy. He breathes that sigh of relief. This is amazing. Well, then you find out something about the system. Because they don't tell the participants this. You kind of got to find out the hard way. And Frank finds out really, really quickly that you either look or you don't look. And if you look at when the expiry is, the duration that your date is going to be, you have to do it, both people, at the same time. If you don't do that, it breaks the system, and that's bad. What started off as 5 years very quickly recalibrated and went down to 3 years. And recalibrated and then went down to 3 years. Went from 5 years down to 3 years, then 18 months, then recalibrated to 3 weeks, then recalibrated, then recalibrated, then recalibrated, all the way down to 20 hours. Now, they have already been on this date for, I don't know, a few days at least. You know, I mean, you don't exactly know how long their date has been up into this, but, you know, it kind of looks like it's been three days, maybe a week. You don't really know. They don't exactly tell you, but it's not that terribly long into it, you know, but Frank breaks down and he checks. And now, you see, here's the thing though. After seeing that 5 years with the person that he truly wanted to be with going all the way down to 20 hours, and he really didn't want that, and he's heartbroken. I mean, he's distraught. He truly is. Frank is just not dealing with this very well at all. And it's weighing on him. You know, I mean, he feels so much guilt for checking this thing, you know, because, you know, Frank and Amy both agreed that they weren't going to do that. It started off as 5. He was punished because, well, they both were punished because he just couldn't leave well enough alone. And what started off as 5 years all the way down to 20 hours, and finally 19 hours later. Now, Amy knows something's up because the demeanor, you know, Frank's demeanor changed, you know, and it's like she knew something was up. And finally, you know, she asks him point blank, you know, what the heck's going on? Something's up. Be honest with me. What the hell's going on? He breaks down. He tells her. A fight ensues. You know, she ain't happy. He ain't happy. You don't exactly know what's going on with Amy at this point. You know, after their date is over, you don't exactly know whether she goes on a few different dates or whatever. But Frank definitely does. Okay. Frank goes on another date, and it's a completely jaded experience. You know, he is not into her. She is not into him. You know, at this point, both of them, Frank and whomever the person is that he's on a date with, they're just going through the motions, you know. And they both get a notification that they have been paired with their lifelong partner. And they're going to meet them tomorrow. Now, Amy, after finding out and asking point blank, do I know the person that I'm being paired with? And Coach told her, no, you don't know this person. You've not met. But Coach does tell Amy that she has the option to be able to have some time to say goodbye to the person of her choosing. And before Coach can even really truly finish the sentence, Amy's like, Frank, I want to see Frank. I want to see Frank. You know, before we're paired off with our lifelong partners, I want to be able to say goodbye to Frank. And basically at this point, she has written off the whole thing. She takes her little handheld device and she skips it across the pool. She's like, hey, Coach, count to 4. Coach starts counting to 4, and by the time Coach even gets to 4, the little handheld device is under the water. She goes to the meeting place that she's supposed to, and things just start going crazy from there. They both know that they're going to meet their lifelong partner the next day, and neither one of them want that. Amy basically talks Frank into, let's just blow this joint. What's the worst they're going to do? Now, at this point, they get up. You start to see that something's going on, okay? That way too many eyes are on them. But whenever they made that decision to get up and leave and blow the joint, everybody is looking at them. It is so creepy. I am not going to lie. It is so creepy. I'm like, again, now at this point, I was so lost whenever I watched this the first time. I was so confused. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? It's like, I knew something was up. I knew something was going on, obviously, but what am I watching here? Again, I was looking at details, but apparently I was looking at the wrong details. It didn't mean anything. I did not pick up on what they were throwing down on this episode till the very freaking end. And finally it was like, aha, so glaringly obvious. And especially the second time watching this, it's like, how did I not pick up on what was going down? How did I not get this? But again, okay, they get up. They make that choice to blow this joint. Everybody is looking at them. Everybody in this restaurant, from guest to waitress, everybody was just stopped and looking at them. Everybody, so creepy. And then finally security shows up, and he's walking out and he's got his little taser, okay? Amy ain't having it. And by this point, Amy has decided that this whole thing, and this was part of the conversation that they were having while they were right there, was like, this whole thing's a test. Maybe this whole thing is just a simulation. Do you remember anything before we met the first time? No, neither do I. This whole thing is a test. Just to see how we're going to react to this. I don't want to go through the test. I don't want to play the game. I want to blow this joint. I've decided who I want to be with. We're done. Let's go. So Amy ain't having none of this. Amy puts out her hand to the security guard that's got the taser and boom, hand right on it. And then when that happened, everything pauses. Everything pauses. From guests to birds to people, the security guard, everything is in pause except Frank and Amy. And they hightail it to this wall. They start climbing this wall. And when I don't know how tall this wall is, but it was freaking huge. They were up there and still having a ways to go. And then the entire world that you see just starts to disappear, and then you've got, like, on a hologram deck, you got Frank and Amy, and it shows a number above their head, 998, and then it pans around a little bit, and you see other Franks and other Amys, all of them with the number above them, and you've got 998 at the very top, and it's like 998 times where they, rebelled against the program. 1,000 simulations completed. And then it pans up to the other side of where that 1,000 number is, 99.8% accuracy. You've got Amy standing there, being paired up with Frank. They're in a bar, and the song playing on the radio is Hang the DJ. And it's just immediate chemistry. Right there. Immediate chemistry. Now, this episode, wow. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, it was just freaking wow. But the thing that intrigues me about this, you all know where I like to put my focus. It's people interacting with people. It's people interacting with technology. It's people interacting with people through technology. But with this episode, one of the things they talk about in here, one of the things that that Frank brings up is, the system looking at everything, even your thoughts, and then pairing you with somebody that it actually does know because of all the places that they get their information from, being able to accurately place you with somebody. Why not have your faith in it? Why not? When you stop and think about where it's getting its information from, it just makes sense. Trust the system. Trust it. Why not? The question isn't whether they've got the ability, because dude, if y'all ain't figured it out by now, they're tracking you. They're watching you. They're listening to everything you do. They're looking at you through camera lenses, multiple. They got their hand everywhere. They know. And if you haven't realized that by now, I'm sorry. But have you ever had a conversation with somebody, let's say about, a keyboard? You ain't been shopping around for a keyboard yet. You haven't gone on Amazon, or you ain't gone on eBay. You ain't gone on anything to shop around for one. But yet you're like, talking with a buddy of yours, and I think I could really use a keyboard. I'm kind of wanting to upgrade my keyboard, and my keyboard's starting to show its age, or whatever, whatever justification you have for it. And the next thing you know, you're on Facebook, and what do you see on Facebook? An advertisement for a keyboard. This happens all the time, and they claim that they do this for advertising purposes. Of course, but they're doing this. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that have had the exact same thing happen to them. I've had it happen a lot. That type of thing. We know they're listening. They're hearing our conversation. They are seeing where we go through the camera. They know what we are buying through our credit card, through our debit card, through our rewards and loyalty programs that we're on. They know what we're buying and what we're spending our money on. They're looking at the metadata, and they know what websites we're going to and what we're looking up. They know all this information. They're collecting all this metadata, all of it, to figure you out. The question on this, I can't really say, is how, what's the likelihood of something like this, or do they have the programming to be able to do something like this? Because honestly, the simulation part of it is one thing, and that's one of the most intriguing aspects of this episode. But they have it, though. This really isn't about whether or not they have the technology to do this. Guys, I'm older than Apple. I was around during the birth of the computer. I remember rotary phones and dial-up and 56K. 56K dial-up. I remember these things. Okay. First we had AOL, and then we had, like Yahoo chat rooms, and we had ICQ, and then it went into, did I say Yahoo chat rooms? I don't remember. Then it went into MySpace, and then Facebook, and now there's, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and, TikTok, and holy crap, there's a lot of social media platforms. I was around in the time before social media, the thing that they were talking about on their first date with, before the program where they find you your lifetime companion, or whatever, that your lifelong mate, or whatever it is that they call it. I was around before then, but my niece and my nephews will never know a time without technology and social media in one form or another. Guys, look, like it or hate it, social media is here to stay. I don't see this trend ending anytime in the foreseeable future. It's here. They're just going to find more creative ways to make it relevant to your life. But, so I mean, they listen, they watch, they know what's going on. This isn't a question of whether or not they have the technology to do something like this. I guess the real question is, how much faith would you be in the system? I mean, that's the question, isn't it? It's not whether or not they could. I mean, if you're really brutally honest with yourself, you know that, yeah, they can. And for me, that's a concept that is both amazing and terrifying all at the same time. I mean, it really is, people. Amazing, yeah, but terrifying. I mean, guys, look, like I said, man, I was around during the birth of computers, okay? Movies like The Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Movies like, I, Robot with Will Smith and The Matrix, Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne. I mean, these aren't movies that are classified as science fiction or even science fantasy. They're not. If you listen to the creators of the original computer and what they were talking about with the eventual progression of the technology, and especially with AI, those movies are movies of prophecy. That's why technology for me is intriguing, because I remember what they said about it on day one in the very beginning. Those movies weren't science fiction. It's not science fantasy. Because how they foreseen the future with the progression of the technology, looking at how we have progressed various technology already up until then, they knew the eventuality. It wasn't a question for them. It was an answer. Those movies are based off of those prophecies that were made. I mean, not religious prophecies. They were technological prophecies that one day the machines would turn against us as their creators. For one reason or another, the machines would turn against us. That's what they prophesied about. That's why this whole thing is both intriguing to me and terrifying. So, I mean, like I said, guys, the question isn't whether or not they have the technology for this, but it really is at this point. Would you go along with it? How much faith would you have in the system, in the decision? Would you be willing to give up your control of your own life to a computer program in that way? Would you? Now, I mean, for some people, that might be an easy, yeah. They've grown up with the technology. They have more trust in it. They have, that they've researched more and they've done computer programming, and, they might even know some different things and in and outs of it, and they may have a different perspective than somebody like me that, yeah, I was around in the beginning. I was around before there were dating apps. I mean, I was around before there were apps in general. I remember that kind of crap. How life was lived before technology and social media. I was around for all that. So the first question, how willing would you be to truly participate in an AI system that actually looked at this much information about you to pair you with somebody else? And regardless of what your answer is, and I truly would like to know, actually, I really would. But apart from that, if you don't think that as a society we're there yet, with our trust in technology, our trust in AI, how long until you think we will be? How long until you think we're there? That as a society, how long until you think we're there? That we're willing to put our trust into AI for deciding something like that. Let's take it a step further, though. We're talking about relationships, but what if we truly use technology for other aspects of our life, like a career? How hard would it be to take, your grades, your extracurricular activity, some of your passions and your hobbies, and put all of that, your intelligence and your quest for new information and your ability to learn, not just what you know, but your ability to learn to, retain information, taking all of that and truly find a career that you would be in love with. If dating is one thing, what about using that same type of AI in assisting us in coming up with a career, a life path, if you will? Going down that type of a road, the possibilities are endless. How else would you use that type of technology? So now we got 3 questions, man. Okay, we got, how would you trust this type of a system? 4 questions, actually. Would you trust this type of a system? If you don't think we're there as a society yet, how long until you think we are? And what about using this in other areas, like finding your career? And in what other areas do you think this thing could possibly work and be utilized? 4 pretty intriguing questions. Whatever your answer is, let me know. Head on over to thehohoshow.com. And okay, if it's not up yet, it soon will be. I'm working on a blog, putting it together. Actually, I'm moving it from one place to another. Message boards for the various seasons. Put your comments into there and let me know. Or, of course, you can email me, hoho@thehohoshow.com, and send me your question there, because I truly am curious. Let me know. So, guys, that is all I got for you today. Y'all are awesome and amazing. The next episode will be episode 6 of season 4, entitled Black Museum. I can't wait to watch that one again. I really am. Oh, man. That was a very good episode. It really was. Tying so many other episodes together. I'm interested to see a second time around how many more things I can see and pick out from other episodes. That's what I'm kind of curious about on that one. And then, of course, we're going to be doing the interactive film entitled Bandersnatch, and then we're getting into season 5. So, y'all, that is all I got for you today. Have a great one. See you next time. Thank you for listening to the Black Mirror Podcast. If you would like to join the conversation, you can comment on this episode at Spreaker.com or go to thehohoshow.com/forum in the discussion board for this season.